So we got some big Godzilla news this week, which was that Apple TV is developing a new Godzilla TV show, which came out of left field, which I'm kind of excited about. Do not know what to expect. Mikey, you've never even seen any of the MonsterVerse stuff.
I've seen Kong Skull Island, and it's connected to those movies that have come out recently.
Yeah, apparently so.
That's really cool.
Have you seen any of the new, well, I guess what has your experience been like with Godzilla in the first place? Have you seen much?
No, I haven't. I mean, to be honest, I'm new-ish to Godzilla, and the movie that we're talking about today is like the first Japanese horror movie I've seen. Really?
Oh wow!
In terms of like kaiju and things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty new to it, and my history with Godzilla is everybody's about to throw their phones out the window. Is that like. What was it, like 1999 Godzilla that takes place in New York?
Yeah.
With Matthew Broderick. That's the one that my dad showed to me when I was a kid. So that's the one I kind of grew up with.
A great entry point.
Everyone hates it. Everyone just has so much bad stuff to say about it. But I kind of I watched it when I was younger as well. It's got like a special place in my heart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it has a real bad case of wanting to be Jurassic Park.
Yeah, that's exactly it. That's exactly it. You haven't seen that one either, Micah, right?
I don't think so. The 1998 movie?
Yeah, 90s American remake. Yeah.
I would love to know your thoughts after you watch it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it's going to be good.
It's a little while away, but I'm really excited for it. Just because so many people have hassled it and chucked it in the...
You're going in with a fresh pair of eyes? Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm sorry that your first introduction to Godzilla has to be a very Godzilla-adjacent, random mushroom people movie, Brucker, but I'm excited to hear your thoughts on it.
No, don't be. This was a fantastic entry. I mean, I was not like skeptical in the sense of that I thought that it's going to be like a bad movie, but I thought it's going to be like just really silly but still enjoyable, And it wasn't. This was a very cool and serious movie, and I thought it was so good from like top to bottom. It was a very good movie.
Yeah, I have a lot of the same thoughts. I really enjoyed it as well. Let's just get into it.
All right.
Welcome back, everyone, to Podzilla. Joining us today is a very special guest, Brucker Nourse. Thanks so much for jumping on the show, Brucker.
Yes, thank you. And good job. You got my name right. A lot of people butcher it. So yeah, thank you so much for having me on, guys.
Yeah, man. Know my stuff. No, it's been awesome. I've been on Brucker's podcast, Autopsy of a Horror Movie, a couple times, and it's such a good podcast. I love just how much of a deep dive you go into classic horror movies. And you've just recently started up a new one, right? Star Wars themed?
Yes, thank you. So Autopsy of a Horror Movie is my horror show, and if people want to check that out, Jay Sher was on to talk about Sinister and Halloween Kills, two very awesome episodes, I will say. But the other project you just mentioned, me and a really good friend from college, Nate, we started a Star Wars podcast called Blue Milk Drop, and we are currently covering the Book of Boba Fett, but once that show ends, we will continue with very fun, like, special topics and Star Wars discussion episodes that we are very excited to get to.
Awesome. I can't wait. We've had a little talk about Star Wars actually a bit on the show with... We're still figuring out what the word kaiju really means, because there's a lot of people who come at it and it's just it's just a giant monster.
Yeah, so would the Rancor be a kaiju?
Exactly.
Yeah, we talked about like the Sarlacc pit, right? That's a bigger creature below the sand as well. I don't know.
But then you get like progressively, you take the Rancor, like smaller and smaller aliens. Like how big does it have to be classed as one?
And then I was looking up online about the movie we're talking about today, Matango, and apparently these kind of humanoid, normal-sized mushroom people are kaiju. So who knows?
So is there like a definitive like criteria for something to be a kaiju?
Not really.
We've struggled with this question, Brucker. It's kind of just a Japanese term for like monsters, big monsters. And then there's kaijin, which are like humanoid monsters or humans with special powers. So
interesting.
We probably need to get an expert on the show at some point to kind of lay the ground rules for us. But yeah, apparently, and we'll go over it, these monsters today are kaiju and kaijin. So who knows? But yeah, huge fan of Star Wars. Go check out Blue Milk Drop and Autopsy of a Horror Movie. We'll talk about them a little more at the end of the show. But today, yeah, we're talking about Matango. 1963 was directed by Ishiro Honda, who's done a lot in a lot of these movies that we're covering. Did the original Godzilla. But this movie was interesting because it's not not your typical kaiju movie. And I went in and saw that this was kind of rebranded in America as Attack of the Mushroom People. And it kind of posters and everything showing off. It's just a straight up, almost parody of creature features type. I really didn't know what to expect. So I'm really, really excited to talk about it today. Brucker, would you be up for kind of sharing a little bit of a synopsis? Or Mikey usually does it, but a little bit of a recap of what happened in the movie?
Yes. Everybody strap in.
Okay, here we go.
Alrighty. So Matango.
I've got my popcorn.
So this movie opens up on a character in a hospital, and he is being questioned on how he ended up there. He then begins to retell his story of how him and 6 other passengers aboard a yacht went on a day trip. While on this yacht day trip, they got stuck in a terrible storm, and it left them stuck at sea. And the mainlanders assumed that they were dead. So the yacht is stranded at sea, and they come across this mysterious foggy island. While exploring the island, they realize several odd things about it, such as there's practically no fauna or animals. The birds avoid the island, but they do find a separate shipwreck there. And when they explore the boat, they find no signs of occupants anywhere on the island. There's really no trace of humans, no corpses, no bodies. It's very strange. And in addition to this, all the mirrors are missing from this shipwreck that they found. It is evident that the ship was an oceanography ship conducting some sort of research. It is speculated that it was studying the effects of radiation on the island species. And the interior of the ship is covered in this odd yellow mold. And they determined that the mold is from this weird mushrooms, Matango, and they are not to eat the mushrooms. Throughout the course of the movie, our 7 stranded characters scavenge and fight over food and fight amongst each other. Some of them succumb to the delicious mushrooms, which are addictive, but once you ingest these, you start to go through a metamorphosis and transform into a humanoid mushroom, a Matango. Our movie ends with our professor protagonist escaping an ambush from the mushroom humanoids and taking his chances at sea. He is rescued and currently is residing in the hospital, tormented with the thought of wondering if he made the right decision to leave his beloved behind on the island, even though she was turning into a Matango herself. So that is, in a nutshell, what this movie is.
That was
That's a great recap. Thank you.
That was so good. Yeah, I'll say it again, I really did not know what to expect, but it really wasn't what I expected. I hate almost how this is called Attack of the Mushroom People overseas and how it's really focused on the Matango or the mushrooms themselves, because majority of this movie doesn't even touch on them.
They don't come in until like the last 20-ish. They are present throughout it, but the real Matango, the quote-unquote kaiju Matango, don't really come in until the last portion of the movie. Up until then, it's pretty much just a psychological horror almost. People trying to survive on this island.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's because they very much haunt this movie. And that's something that I kind of I was kind of getting from this, that this is a very spooky movie, but it's serious. And I agree with you, I had to say, Jay, sure, about it sucks that the Americanization of the title is Attack of the, what was it, Killer Mushrooms or Human Mushrooms. And it doesn't mesh with the tone that Honda is really trying to convey here. And I'm not familiar with him. As you said up top, he made the original Godzilla movie. He did, I think, 49 films while being an active filmmaker. So I know you two have been covering a lot of his stuff and other kaiju movies. I'm curious to know from you two, where this kind of lands in the filmography of things that y'all have covered so far on this show.
Yes. So at this point, Ishiro's been basically the running head of the Godzilla franchise. He made the first movie, and from there it's all almost avalanched into something bigger than himself. A lot of people only really equate him to these Godzilla movies. However, he has a huge backlog of, other films. A lot of them are monster movies, but a lot of them are also dramas, war movies, all sorts of types of movies. At this point, a lot of the movies we have been watching have been these like monster adjacent movies. Originally, none of these movies were supposed to be part of the Godzilla franchise, but he almost took a lot of monsters or themes from this backlog of monster movies that he made and ended up incorporating them into the Godzilla franchise and wider world as time has gone forward. So I'm assuming that's what happens with this movie. He's taken these Matango, these mushroom kaiju creatures, and has later on down the track brought them into the Godzilla universe and has made this canon to that world.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. I think he did do like a few, we haven't covered them on Podzilla, but there are a few random monster movies that he has done that don't really connect up to the canon in any way or don't appear again. So after this, I'm really, really interested in actually watching those at some point because, man, this kind of blew me away a little bit. And it's something that he really does, and we've noted it pretty much every time we watch his films, is he inserts really topical and really, I don't know, interesting and important themes throughout each movie, that this one definitely felt like that as well. And I guess we could go into it more in depth, but did you guys have anything that really stuck out or you wanted to talk about this?
I mean, there's a lot in this that was so good. I was really impressed with the pacing of it and like the basically the whole direction and framing from like the craftsmanship behind this was so good besides the storytelling itself. I was really finding myself impressed with that, and because like this is a slow burn of a movie. I was kind of expecting, like I said up top, something a little bit more sillier and wackier, but I thought it was so cool that this movie is not in a rush to get to the kaiju in it. They want to see, hey, let's just see how these characters, behave in these dire circumstances, and like watch them turn on each other and watch like the dynamics change and things like that. And it has almost nothing to do with the monsters in it later on. And I found that so cool and so like just impressive. Again, just like the amount of restraint that it had, because a lot of like what Micah was saying about like how like the kaiju come in like in the third act, really late in the third act, but we see like shadows of them and we see like cool like creepy figures and evidence of them, but like it's kind of like doing that Spielbergian thing of, like,
that's it,
revealing the monster at the end.
There's always a threat looming in the background.
And like it really the restraint on that was executed so expertly, I thought, and it really added to the enjoyment of the movie.
Yeah, totally. I mean, even from the get-go, when we were introduced to this guy inside a mental asylum or a psychiatric ward, wherever he was, and then it kind of just fades into him with 6 other friends on a ship, really, really goofy kind of funny music. At some points, they're pulling out ukuleles, they're all laughing with each other. We get some, like, I don't know, just some real fun character-driven stuff. And each of these characters, a lot of the times in this movie, it kind of made me feel like John Carpenter's The Thing, or movies in that vein where there's a group of characters and the terror and tensions kind of putting them all against each other. Something I think this did quite well, and maybe even better than movies like The Thing, is that each of these characters were just so well defined by kind of their roles, their connections to each other. I mean, I'm pretty sure they were... Did you have to cast and character names? Because I'm pretty sure they were like all known as... Was one of them like the sailor, the writer?
Singer.
Yeah.
The singer, the writer, the skipper.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, what's really cool about this movie is all of them have like their own character names, which are almost said less than their roles are. It becomes almost a sort of a clue type situation for where people are more known for their roles. So we have our 7 main cast on the ship. We have Akira Kubo playing as Kenji, the professor. Kumi Mizuno as Mami, the singer. She's one of the 2 female characters in this movie. Hiroshi Koizumi as Naoyuki, the skipper of the ship. Kenji Sahara, who we've had on before, as Senzo, the shipmate assistant. Hiroshi Tachikawa as Itsuro, the writer. I loved that character. He at the start it shows him writing a manuscript, and one of the characters literally just like chucks all his papers in the sea,
my goodness.
and he gets really mad about it, and nobody cares.
I could not believe that. It's like, he was like, oh, this is one of my best works, and everyone's just laughing it off. I felt so bad for the dude.
Yeah, I did too. I want to circle back to that after Micah
Nice.
lists everything.
We've also got Yoshio Tsuchiya as Kasai, the yacht owner, and Maki Yashiro as our other female lead, Akiko, the university employee. She's a love interest of our main character, Kinji, the professor.
Were they love interests?
I don't know. It seems like they were before the movie. By the end, they definitely were.
See, I was taking it that like it was like kind of like a working relationship maybe,
Yeah.
and that like there was something there because now something that stuck out to me in like the first 10 minutes was that the singer, you know, she is obviously fawned over.
Yeah.
And then when that student goes downstairs, there's somebody said something about how like she's like too shy, like she's too shy to mingle with the boys, and she doesn't have like a lot of confidence about that. So, but you know, throughout the course of the movie, her and the professor have some sort of courtship, I guess. But that was something that I wanted to point out, was that like this is kind of like the campy side of this story of this movie, I think. So we have a singer, the skipper, the professor, the student, the writer, and then like the captain, I guess. Or no, that was the skipper. But anyways, why are these people together? Why are they friends? Like one of them was just listed as the celebrity. Like I didn't really get like what's the connective tissue between all of them? How do they get on a yacht together?
Because we don't even really like figure out why they're there in the first place, right? We get a bit of a flashback when they all meet up in some sort of bar and they're watching the singer sing. And the professor's like, oh, I finally managed to get the student to come with me. And they're all kind of like meeting up and talking, but we're never sure on it. It kind of just feels like a fun, they're going to go sailing and just have some fun out on the sea. But
yeah, I think there's a brief line thrown out there that these people have money, so they just paid to go on a trip.
yeah,
it all kind of feels like a fever dream, doesn't it? And
totally.
Because like halfway through the movie is when we get some of those flashbacks, but I was also wondering if it was kind of like Honda like playing into that just like the theme of mushrooms, of like, you know, this is just like one of them like having a hallucination, like this was a false memory, you know?
Yeah.
Kind of like the psychedelic stuff. So I wondered, that was like just him playing into that theme of like, you know, did this really happen, or did he kind of just like wish this happened? I don't know.
There's a lot of that, because even at the start, before anything crazy happens in the island and they're just out sailing, at one point I think the ship hand or the sailor sees this huge boat about to hit them, and then just like a second later it's not there and you realize he was seeing things. Or later on, when someone sees the mushrooms for the first time, they start remembering like some ladies dancing somewhere, and it's just a lot of scenes like that you're like, why are they showing me this? Is this real? Is this... I really loved it. It added to the feel of the whole movie. Something strange that I picked up on as well was that even just when we're introduced to these characters, bear in mind this movie came out in like 1963, it strangely kind of echoed to me a lot of the other horror movies from like 70s and 80s that I've watched. I mean, you've got the real popular singer girl who's flirting with everyone, and then you got kind of like the shy outcast one who, spoiler alert, kind of survives until the very end alongside the guy. And you've kind of got these character tropes that I've seen pop up in so many other places since then, but it's so crazy to me that this is just from a random Japanese movie that's quite unknown in the early 60s.
Mm-hmm.
It fits really well, surprisingly, because like you said, Brucker, it's almost... you don't hear too much about Japanese horror movies, especially around this time, and it feels like this already just fits so well into the tropes that have already been established by American horror movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just interesting, and it's really weird too, because I think, so I don't know too much about this director. I was doing some light reading on him, and apparently that this movie was kind of like his blank check, like if you know what I mean by that. Basically, he's had so much success already, the studio's just like, all right, do whatever you want, and he had been wanting to differentiate himself from the monster movies and do a purely horror movie, is like what he was wanting to do with this. But like while like having like a serious tone and bringing in all these like imageries of things, and which I'm like getting kind of like mixed things about like what this movie could actually be about, because I feel like that there's a bunch of different things you could get into. Did y'all see that this movie was almost banned in Japan when it came out?
Yeah, it's crazy, right? It was because of the way the infected people looked when the Matangos got to them?
Yeah, it was. I was reading that it was, exactly what you said, and because it was presenting too much imagery of like victims from Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
Oh, wow.
Right.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Which was like 15, 18 years before this movie, something like that. So
yeah, that's pretty crazy. And we've seen that a few times. Like every single one of Ishiro's movies kind of have taken some themes of what Japan went through during that time. And even with this, I mean, everyone knows Godzilla's nuclear bomb testing. That's how Godzilla and all those creatures were made. And it's mentioned with this as well, that this island had nuclear tests going on, and that's why the mushrooms grew the way they did, or that's why they became so infectious.
Mm-hmm.
Something else that I really, really enjoyed when they got to the island in the first place, the shipwrecked, it just seemed so cool. Even just the set pieces and just how they showed the island. I loved when they got into the actual shipwreck later on, and it's just filled with mold and fungi, and it looked really, really cool. Like, I was kind of taken aback with how much effort and how much the production design was just amazing. I felt grossed out as they were kind of opening up all these things and spores were flying around. I don't know why they stayed in there for a majority of the movie. I would have been scared out of my mind to eat in the same room as those mold.
The worst place to stay in.
Yeah, that was probably one of my favorite things too, because it just looked so cool, and it was so fun, like how much time that we actually got to spend in that shipwreck. I thought it was just super cool, and still it kind of like added to that fun like spookiness of it. It kind of felt like Scooby-Doo in a way. Like the gang found a haunted boat, but we're going to stay the night in it because we're, I don't know, like Ghostbusters or whatever. I don't know, but it was fun. It was fun in that way, and I guess because I didn't one of them, I forget which one, but I believe one of them kind of just said like, or kind of said something like, like screw this, let's go find a cave. Or like at some point in the movie when they were kind of like being fed up with it and everything. Yeah, so I don't know. I mean, I don't know. If I was trapped on an island and I found that, I guess I would make it work too.
Yeah, and I mean, this is where kind of the group starts to fracture as well, because I don't know if the environment's starting to do stuff with them while they're in this place initially, but one of them just almost cuts himself off from the rest of the group. I think it was the owner of the ship, and kind of locks himself away in his own room. You got people starting to find leftover cans of food and hoarding it to themselves, and other people like trading this food for others for the money that they have on them. It's kind of almost like Lord of the Fliesy. It's really...
That was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wonder if that's like some sort of comment on capitalism or anything, because I love that whole exchange when he says, like it's 10,000 yen. Well, it was 5,000 yesterday. And he goes, well, it's more rare now. It's more valuable. And when he gets the money from him, he just goes, I don't even know if I'll ever be able to spend this.
Yeah.
So, it's kind of like, why is he trading away these, raw materials and these resources that he needs for just paper?
Yeah, it's pretty much all they had, because what were they eating? Like, was it turtle eggs and like roots? Was that what?
There were roots were a main one. There were a few scenes where people were just really relishing these turtle eggs.
Because that's what he was putting forward, almost like a poker game or something, like a few turtle eggs forward, and the guy was offering the money. It's funny as.
Mm-hmm. I really wonder, Jason, you brought up the fact that they stayed in the ship with the mold. I wonder if that kind of led to a lot of the erratic behavior between them, because there are a few inconsistencies that happen as time goes on. There's the ship near the start, which is almost like a mirage type hallucination. There's also a big tense scene where one of the Matango, it seems like, is coming up on board the ship, and they're all trying to defend themselves. And it eventually comes into a room where they're all staying, and then it cuts to a scene where they're all eating at the table, and it almost seems like it never really happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was so good. That was so bizarre. That weirded me out too. I'm glad that you brought that up.
It brought me out of it initially, because I was like, wait, this must be
bad filmmaking?
I don't know. I mean, we've had movies like this before where we've watched the American version and they've cut out things the Japanese version had in it. So I was like, something must be going on with the editing. But just as it happened again and again, it really, really added to just the tension and the erratic feeling of what is actually happening here. Why aren't any of them really acknowledging that these things are, these mushroom-headed people are watching them?
And I really like the point that you made, Micah, because I didn't think about that, because like I wondered like how much of the spores, like the mold, is actually affecting them too, because like what if like most of the, because that's something like the film kind of like leaves a little ambiguous, I think. So like what if most of these ghost things, like these mushroom people that they see on the ship, are actually just hallucinations and they're not real? Because we see later on that like at least one of the rules of the movie that I got was that the mushroom people really come to life after it rains, and so we didn't get too, I don't really think we got too much rain other parts of the movie, so like maybe it could have been just the mold messing with them.
That's a crazy way to think about it.
As well as at the end of the movie when Kenji is sitting in the mental asylum near the end, we never see him actually eat any of the mushrooms throughout the movie, but he is visibly affected by the mushrooms or the fungus at the end there.
Yeah, Kenji, who we were introduced to at the start, kind of had this voiceover. Never saw his face. We watched him throughout the course of the movie. He is the only survivor in the end. And then it cuts back to him inside the institute, and he turns around and we see that he is infected. And I've actually read that they filmed different versions of the ending. They filmed him being infected, then they filmed another cut with him having absolutely nothing on his face, but them still keeping him in there. So
I think I would have liked that more.
Almost again like the ending of The Thing if they went the other way. But yeah, I really like movies like this that have you thinking and have you guessing, but then have some real cool horror elements. I loved it.
I just want to transition here because just like one of the movies we've covered before, Mothra, this movie is actually based off of a Japanese story, or at least a short story. And I believe you read that yesterday, didn't you, Daisha?
I did, yeah. I found out that this was based on a short story written by William Hope Hodgson in 1907 called The Voice in the Night. And I had a bit of time yesterday. I got it on my Kindle for like 70 cents or something. And I just read through it. And it was really interesting because it's quite different to what this movie follows. In the short story, pretty much there's this group of sailors or a handful of people on a boat that meet this other ship in the middle of the night. And they don't really see the figure on the ship, but they hear his voice, and the voice is asking them for food. And then while they're getting food for this strange figure, the figure talks about him and his wife shipwrecking on the island, and then slowly eating mushrooms behind each other's back at first and not telling them that they're doing it. And then at the end, he's kind of like, that's why you don't want to look at me, because I'm a mushroom person now. And then they give him the food and he goes, and then they go on their way. So it was really, I enjoyed the story, but it's really interesting to see that kind of idea has been fully fleshed out in this movie.
It's a really cool like source material for him to, just expand on and everything in this.
Yeah, he did a really, really good job with it. And I love how he brought up the fact that this is kind of a passion project for him, or him wanting to try to get out of the mold. You can feel it. You can feel it. And I like it because everything up to this point has been getting a little bit samey. And this is really like, it's just kind of blown me away a little bit at how his creative vision is and how his directing skills are when he can make a lot of his own choices. It's real cool.
Yeah. Isn't that also like the opposite of like how we normally think directors want to do? Because a lot of them like will start out in horror but try to transition out of it and do something else.
Right.
But this is the opposite. He's like trying to transition into it because that's where he wants to be. I love that.
It's so cool.
Sure. And a lot of the movies we've actually liked the most out of Honda's has probably been those where he's broken away from the mold of his big hits and has just started to do what he's wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
I had a question for y'all about the island itself, because I think one of the characters kind of they see that there's like a bunch of shipwrecks around the island and everything. So were y'all kind of like getting any sort of like vibes or something that like the island is kind of like an entity itself that kind of attracts just missing ships and things like that? And like, 'cause I was kind of wondering if this was like going to turn into that, to where like the island not necessarily is alive, but the island kind of like tricks you into like never leaving or whatever. Kind of like I don't know if you ever seen the movie The Ruins, where kind of like the vegetation is alive in that and really manipulating the characters in that. So I was kind of wondering if this movie is going to go towards that direction, where like the island itself just tricks you, kind of like how we have like haunted movies where like the house is alive and like the house is messing with you.
It kind of felt like that. I really love that scene when, was it the skipper goes and tries to take their initial yacht back up, and then we find out later that he didn't escape. He's written down all their names and said that they're dead inside the yacht for if anyone ever found it. And then we see all these shipwrecks in the water. It's real interesting when you think about the fact, like I was reading up about the Matangos themselves on different wikis after watching, and apparently they're like a hive mind organism. So that's a crazy way to think about it. That this island kind of traps people in and tries to make them eat the mushrooms, and this whole island's just part of this organism. It's crazy, scary.
Growing its hive mind.
Oh,
it actually very much reminded me of almost like a Bermuda Triangle type situation, because nobody's ever heard of or nobody knows of the island which they end up coming to here. It seems like it's off all maps. And you're right, Brucker. It definitely feels like this island is its own character in this story as well. Just bringing all these people and not letting them leave, and people having to fend off kind of the lay of the land. And it seems like there isn't much in the way of, rations or food. Almost like this fungus has taken control over everything here.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because I was like trying to, in regards to what you just said about like the fungus, I was like, that's taken over everything. And it was because what y'all said earlier about how he kind of uses like Godzilla as kind of like the allegory about like, like the radiation from like the bombings and things like that. And they do touch on radiation in this to explain away like the mutants and the mushrooms here. But it felt like a kind of like a natural parallel to radiation, because you think of like, it's like this invisible deadly force that you don't see, is just in the air and it just affects you. And that's kind of like what like nature's mold is to us in a way, because it's just everywhere. We inhale it and it affects us. So it was kind of like it kind of felt like a repercussion. Obviously a lot of these Godzilla movies do talk about like humans hurting nature through that, and how radiation, the byproduct of that, comes back and harms us. But this felt like an equal measure of that, if that makes any sense. Like instead of like a giant Godzilla, we got like, okay, well, the radiation's hurting us, that's in the air. Here's like this mold spores that it's in the air, and it's going to literally infect you.
That's such an awesome way to think about it. And it's something that I kind of had to think about as well when the movie ended. Was Kenji went back in the institute, says that he should have stayed on the island with his friends who are still alive, but they're mushrooms now, and he should have stayed there instead of coming back to Tokyo, because Tokyo's the same as the island, and that they're not so different after all. Both people in each places have almost become inhuman. And really interesting just how they showed, I guess, all the flashbacks to dancing and people living large, going to parties, all the talk about they're just wanting to spend money, the singer's just trying to get with all the guys, or they're all trying to get with her. Really, really interesting way to kind of look at it, that people are slowly kind of just looking out for themselves and just trying to get whatever they can and survive in Tokyo, same as the island. I don't know, that's kind of what I got from it, but there's so many ways to look into it.
Well, with you explaining it that way, it makes me more think of how different is like the high society hive mind from the mushroom hive mind,
Yeah, people are really losing their own individuality and kind of just becoming, everybody's becoming the same thing, all in the same hierarchy of, I guess, everybody else in the world.
Yeah. And because I was like trying to like pinpoint, because I think that's like such a good point. I feel like that's purposeful too, about like the hive mind parallels in that, and especially like with the singer character, because I was like because I felt like that they were trying to say something with her, and I was like kind of struggling with that until like you just made that point, Jay Shirt. And because so like they're on this island, but I found it super weird that she just wanted to go ahead and just eat the mushrooms, really, because I felt like that like there was no real like temptation for her there. She kind of just did it, but it almost felt like
she was very eager to.
Yeah, but it felt like she did it just to like fit in with the island, if that makes any sense. Like her priority was to she on the boat, she was the woman that they fawned over and everybody liked her. And on the island, okay, the mushrooms don't really care about that, but they care about you if you eat the mushroom. So it felt like that, like she like wanted to just like seek the attention of that and just be more absorbed into that like quote culture, if that makes any sense. I feel like I'm like not making a lot of sense right now, but
No, totally.
I get you.
yeah. So like, it felt like that she just wanted to just literally be absorbed in like just accepted into like whatever the new cultural norm is on this island. And I found that interesting that like during the third act, she was wearing like her outfit was all like greens and browns and things like that matched the environment.
Oh, you're right.
So it was, I don't know, it was just, I was like trying to think like, what are they like trying to say about that? Like she only cares, like she has no loyalty to her friends. She only cares about like fitting in, like period.
Yeah. Such an interesting character, because even before a lot of that, like when they get into the shipwreck and two of the guys start fighting over her and she's kind of just ignoring them, laughing it off, doing her makeup.
She loves it.
She absolutely loves everyone, I guess, trying to, I don't know, being tempted by her or wanting to get her. And she leaves with one of the men off the shipwreck when they want to go, and then she comes back and like tempts another one to leave with her. Such a cool character. I really, really enjoyed her, and exactly what you're saying, Brucker, just all the different parallels. I don't know, I loved it.
It's really nice. There's one scene as well, I think right after they're fighting over her, where they're all thinking that the reason they're hallucinating or going crazy is because of the woman, because they're being so tempted by them, almost like sirens.
Because they make a rule, right, that no one can get with the student or the singer.
No sex on this island. Yeah, that's
That's great. Yeah. So I think one of the characters ends up trying to kiss her, and she just goes along with it and almost brags to the other female afterwards. She's like, see, everybody loves me. There's definitely like, you can tell that she really just wants to be accepted and wants to be liked by everybody, no matter how that is.
Interestingly enough, like that, them talking at the end, you kind of see as the student is kind of envious a little bit of it. And at the end, she in the end is tempted by the mushrooms as well, and she chooses that over trying to survive without it. So she kind of wants in a little bit on what the singer has, and then it just eats away at her until she's turning inhuman. It's crazy.
absolutely, because that student character was a good like continuation of that. You know, like did she decide to conform and go with it, or did she decide to be unique and go with the professor? And she decided to conform.
That was a really good struggle near the end there, because she literally, they fight about it. She's like, if we don't eat this, we're going to die. How is dying better than being able to survive, even if it is part of this, monster-like fungal society?
Yeah. Can we talk about that like third act for a bit, of the last like 15 minutes? Because are you kidding me? That was crazy. It felt almost like a nightmarish, like Willy Wonka type scenario when they're going out into the forest and then they meet all these crazy messed up mushroom people, and everyone we've kind of met so far, the singer's, her arm's been all mutated and fungus is growing off it, and you get Kenji kind of just running through it and getting met face to face. And that sound that they make,
It's fantastic.
It was terrifying.
the like laughing or the... Oh my goodness. I was watching this like 1 a.m. in the morning and I was a little freaked out, I gotta say. Like, this would have scared me when I was a kid. I would have been terrified.
I would have been traumatized, because it's just like constant laughing in the background, very, very over the top. It makes anybody watching it feel crazy, so you have no idea how the main character Kenji is feeling in that situation.
Oh, absolutely. And to me, like the scariest part was when they were bunkered in the ship, and you see them, come over the portholes and the doors and things like that. Like that was true, because you get that true sense of like they are surrounded, they are trapped. Like that's what really actually scared me from this.
Especially in the ship, the one place they thought they were safe in, and they could fend them off. But coming through all the portholes, they're almost, the tables are turned in that situation. From being safe in their little bunker, that's now their trap.
I am a little disappointed that we didn't get like a little funny jump scare from the one like short mushroom that they did have in the box that was in the ship. That like if that just came alive, it's like, that would have been great.
Would have been so good.
Little touch of that wackiness you were waiting for.
Yeah, like oh there it is.
Yeah, it's such a slow burn up until that last like 10-20 minutes. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a little bit of information here about the Matango themselves, who are kind of our only monster or kaiju or kaijin or however you'd class these things. But it says here that the Matango are a species of fungus native to a remote island in the South Pacific. They are mutated by the radiation from nuclear tests conducted in the area. When not colonizing a host, the Matango resemble large orange mushrooms, with unusually large spores emanating from them. After infecting a human host, the host will gradually grow mats of fungus out over their skin and gradually go insane. Once the Matango has matured, the human's upper body is replaced with a fungal cap and their lower body becomes equally deformed with giant legs and long claws attached to gigantic muscular arms.
It's freaky.
Interesting.
It's terrifying. I don't know why mushrooms are like so creepy in this. He managed to do it. Attack of the Killer Mushrooms? Like, are you kidding me? It's pretty effective. I didn't think it would be.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like what other like vegetation would have been like as I don't know on par, or like what I would have expected more. I don't know. Like I guess like tomatoes comes to mind just because of that movie, but
yeah, it's right.
Almost like a better than the classic zombie trope, because at least it's unique, and it makes sense that it's almost like there's a host instead of just being completely mindless.
Yeah, because everyone survives this, right? I mean, like he says in the end, Kenji, they're not dead. They survived, and I could have survived there with them. Like they're just no longer who they once were. They've turned into this another being.
There are very few characters who end up dying in this movie. One, I think, gets shot multiple times because they're holding other people hostage.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
I think the skipper, he ends up jumping off the boat or something. He doesn't survive by the end. And those all happen because they don't end up eating these mushrooms, which would have kept them alive. You're right.
So interesting. Because, like, again, like, it's confused. It's like who is the bad guy? Because like, did y'all get like an idea of like the mushroom people were actually trying to do besides just bring them back to the forest?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm thinking maybe like we were saying, maybe the island is trying to, or the fungus itself is just trying to bring in more people. I don't know. It is quite ambiguous. But
Just trying to improve that foot traffic. You know, they just gotta get more, they get more island visitors. You know.
Yeah. Totally. It's always felt like I've heard that there are actual. I don't know if it is true, but I've heard that there are certain bugs or certain funguses that actually do latch onto a host or do kind of mess with your mind a little bit. And we all know that like the psychedelic properties of some mushrooms as well. It's kind of like all these things meshed into a monster, which is pretty interesting.
You're right, because there are some real life funguses, and there's like a bunch of studies on this that infect small insects like ants and actually take over them to do their own bidding. And it's a real wacky concept, and I guess this is the natural progression of that. What if this is almost the exact same, but just bigger, just a larger scale?
Interesting. That's really cool.
Technically, this is not unrealistic.
Oh my god, wait, that makes so much more sense though, because like that's probably why that there's no like real animals on the island, because they don't want them to eat the mushrooms. So they have like these humanoid things to like scare them off or whatever.
Yeah, that's true.
So do they not want them to eat the mushrooms?
I don't think that they want like, I think they want humanoids to, but like they don't want like turtles or birds.
Maybe because
like
the smarter organism.
Yes, or like maybe just like the compatibility isn't there. Like the transformation for humans works perfect, but you do it for a turtle, it's a mess. Like you don't want that, you know?
Yeah.
You ever seen a mushroom with a shell? It's disgusting. Yeah, you don't want it. Yeah.
The Matangos as well. I guess the reason we're covering this movie is because they do pop up a few times later down the track, not in a huge capacity. But the Matangos appear again in the TV series Godzilla Island, made for kids. I think
Is that
using
like
action
the
figures.
puppet? Yeah,
Yeah,
the
that's
action
the
figure.
one. So we'll cover that at some point. Who knows? They also
Godzilla
feature
Island.
Godzilla Island. Get ready, Brucker. Godzilla Final Wars, they come back in as well. I don't know if they're just mentioned or they appear in some capacity. It might be they're just seen as toys or something.
Final Wars is like the big culmination, almost like the big crossover event,
Yeah.
Avengers type situation where everything comes together.
Everything in the Toho era. So they appear in there in some capacity. I'm not too sure. We'll find out. But they also appear in Godziban, another like YouTube kids Godzilla show. So I don't know how these things will appear in like a kids show, but
It's wacky that they take everything from this horror movie and bring that. Yeah, this is the thing that we want all the kids to see.
Because aren't kids already like really hard to get to eat their vegetables as is? Like, do we need to like give them any more of a reason to not eat their
Hey,
vegetables?
those mushrooms are delicious.
They are addictive.
the last place I think they show up in is a game for the NES called Godzilla Monster of Monsters when they're one of the villains in that.
They're also in Super Mario World, right?
Yeah, there you go. We got a connection. Mario's growing whenever he eats a mushroom, and slowly, you just don't see him slowly turning inhuman.
Yeah.
I do have a little bit of trivia as well, just on this movie. So, director Steven Soderbergh actually wanted to remake this film. Yes. He's the director of the Ocean's 11 trilogy and a lot of other popular films. So, he really loved this movie as a child. It really frightened him. And he wanted to remake it. He actually got into talks with Toho, but the project unfortunately never got off the ground.
Oh, man. I wonder how Soderbergh would have done with that, because I don't know why. I don't see him doing horror, but that would be interesting.
Has he done any horror in the past?
I don't think he has. And you're quite a fan of the Ocean's movies, right, Brucker?
Ocean's 11 is one of my favorite movies ever. It's so good. I actually just watched that the other night for like the 100th time. Yeah.
Maybe it was like a spin-off Ocean 7 when 7 sailors go on the ocean.
Oh, shut up. My God.
Fantastic.
I've only got a few other things here, but the screenwriter for this, Takeshi Kimura, who's previously written screenplays for other movies we've covered on here, Rodan, The Mysterians, and a lot of Ishiro's other stuff, he considers this to be his finest work, the finest thing he's ever written. And he's actually been less enthusiastic of everything that's come since. Or I think he's done a few other Godzilla movies, that all of which he's written under a different name or under a pseudonym. So this was kind of, he thought that this was it. He really loved this movie and he didn't think anything else lived up to it afterwards, which is crazy.
Wow. I mean, this is a really good movie. I mean, I can't speak to his other stuff, but this movie was fantastic. So
yeah. I think actually that's everything that I have here based on the story. Yeah, Voice in the Night. I reckon give it a go, guys. You can find it online or it's on like ebook stores. I really enjoyed reading that.
How long is it?
Real short. I read it in about 15 minutes. Oh,
wow.
Yeah. Really effective for what it was as well. Well, I think that's everything. Did you guys want to kind of give your final thoughts on the movie? And I don't know, did you have a rating for us, Micah? What should we give this thing? What should we rate this thing out of 5?
Yeah, usually we give it a wacky rating. Tossing up between the mushrooms or the turtle eggs for this one.
Turtle eggs. I like turtle eggs. Let's go with that.
Okay.
What were your thoughts, Micah?
I like this. I really loved how this movie didn't just rely on the premise of the evil entity as the only driving force. It was more of a psychological horror, and you could really see all the interactions between the characters and the natural progression of how that came to an almost Lord of the Flies-like scenario, like you said, Jasha.
Yeah.
And I loved how, because they were so secretive about what the Matango were, that final scene was just so impactful. Like, I need to watch it again because it just really, really stood out to me. No, but I loved it. All the characters, I think their tropes that they had suited them really well and made them quite memorable. It was good. I did like it. I would probably give this a... Oh, I'm not a fan of rating things high, but I did like this a lot. I'll probably give it like a good 4 turtle eggs out of 5.
4 out of 5. How about you, Brucker? What were your thoughts?
Nice. Yeah, I mean, I echo a lot of things that Micah had to say. I think that it was just fantastic. It was a great introduction into kaiju for me. and it was, psychological horror, everything I said about like the pacing. This movie I felt like was just a masterclass in, just crafting spookiness and horror and thriller. Like it was so good. This is probably, I'm keeping up on Letterboxd with like first watches for the year of 2022. And this is so far my favorite first watch so far that I've done this year. This was so good. So I think I'm gonna go a tad higher. I think I'm gonna give it 4.5 turtle eggs. I'm gonna give it 4 eggs and a yolk.
Nice. Yeah, I mean, everything you guys have said. I thought this was going to be very silly when I saw the premise and saw everything before watching it, but was really, really surprised. I mean, this is kind of my jam. I really love horrors like this that are just really character-driven, slow, dropping little hints here and there, and then it kind of blow you away with something later down the track. The special effects as well, I kind of liked how this was a little bit like body horror-y.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. I love the creatures. I loved everything about this. I'll probably give it a 4.5 turtle eggs out of 5 as well. I think the best movie potentially that I've watched for this podcast so far. So give it a watch, guys. Matango. You wouldn't think that it's as good as it is, and I think it's very like unknown as well. So if you haven't watched it, everyone, track it down.
Good movie night with some friends.
Yeah, it's actually pretty easy to watch. It's available on a lot of sites for free and legally. If people have Tubi, it's on Tubi, it's on Daily Motion. So it's pretty easy to get a hold of. And yeah, like you said, high recommend.
Did you guys have like a favorite human character? One of the roles? I think I liked the singer. I liked, was it name Mami? I liked her. She was great.
She was the most interesting. So she's probably the most complex, I thought. Yeah. But I was having a hard time with that because I guess maybe the professor, just because he seemed like the most moral out of everybody. Like he didn't really seem like he had an agenda besides just getting off the island and surviving and trying to get as many people to come along with him. So so that's kind of my take on the characters that I liked. Yeah.
I'm probably the same with you. I like the skipper. Halfway through the movie, everybody's hassling him, saying like, "You don't have jurisdiction over us anymore because we're not on the ship." And he's rebuttaling back, saying, "I literally just want to lead you guys out of here. That's what I've been doing so far."
Mm-hmm.
He was an interesting character as well because you find out that he was literally just hired for this job. Like he's just kind of like a second-rate skipper. He was just hired. None of them really respect him. Gosh. Yeah, I really liked a lot of the characters. They were great.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is us, guys, for the Matango episode. Thanks so much, Brucker, for joining us. This was amazing. We've got to get you on again at some point.
Absolutely. I would love to.
Where can people find more of you? Tell us a little bit about where they can track down Autopsy of a Horror Movie and Blue Milk Drop.
Yeah, so thank you again, Jasher and Micah, for having me on. This was such a blast, and also you got to expose me to this movie that is now like one of my new favorites. This was so good.
Our pleasure.
Autopsy of a Horror Movie can be found anywhere you listen to podcasts. Be sure to give me 5 stars on Spotify and iTunes. And you can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Brucker Horror. And Blue Milk Drop is available everywhere as well. And you can find the Twitter and Instagram for that at Blue Milk Drop. And while you're giving reviews, go ahead and give Podzilla 5 stars.
Thanks, man. We'll also chuck the links to Brucker's shows and his social medias in the show notes. So check it out. Well worth doing. Love the shows. That's us for this week, guys. Next episode, we're tackling Atragon, which is another movie directed by Ashiro Honda, another very adjacent to Godzilla type thing. But the synopsis for this is that the legendary empire of the Lost Covenant of Mu reappears to threaten the world with domination. While countries unite to resist, an isolated World War II captain has created the greatest warship ever seen and possibly the surface world's only defense.
Wow.
Sounds amazing.
Sounds crazy. I'm looking forward to it after this. Apparently it introduces a kaiju that's going to pop up a bit coming forward. So that's going to be a good time. But thanks everyone for listening. Check us out on our socials. Make sure to review Brucker's shows and Podzilla if you haven't already. And we'll see you in a fortnight.
Bye, everyone.
You've been listening to Podzilla with your hosts, Jasher and Micah Drake. Be sure to follow our socials, join our Discord, and check out Cassie Celine, who did our amazing podcast art. The links are all in our show notes. And just a disclaimer that any musical sound effects used in this episode belong entirely to the Toho Company. See you in 2 weeks.